Some of the most profitable YouTube channels being built right now are run by people who never touch an editing timeline, never design a thumbnail, never even handle their own upload schedules. The creator records the raw material, uploads it to a shared folder, and a production pipeline does everything else: editing, design, scheduling, posting, without requiring another minute of their time. This is not a shortcut or a hack. It is a fundamentally different way of thinking about what a YouTube channel can be. And the people who figured it out first are building income at a scale that solo creators working alone simply cannot match. The conventional image of a YouTube creator is familiar: one person, one camera, one relentless grind of filming, editing, scripting, designing thumbnails, scheduling uploads, and somehow finding the energy to do it all over again the following week. For a long time, that assumption went largely unchallenged, but a growing number of people building serious income on YouTube have quietly dismantled it entirely. What they have built in its place looks less like content creation and more like running a media company, one where the founder's most important job is not to do the work, but to design the system that does it instead. The philosophical foundation for all of this sounds simple, but has enormous practical implications. Your time is your most valuable asset, and every hour you spend on a task that someone else could do is an hour you are not spending on the work that only you can do. The mathematics become undeniable at a certain level of income. If a video earns $100 and costs 5 hours to edit, the implicit value of that editing time is $20 per hour. The moment you can find someone who edits at your standards or better for less than $20 per video, outsourcing that task is not an expense. It is a profit. You recover the time, maintain the output, and the money you pay the editor costs you less than the money you would have sacrificed by doing it yourself. This is the core logic that turns a one-person content operation into a scalable business. The question is never whether outsourcing makes sense in theory. The question is simply whether the creator understands their own numbers well enough to know when it becomes viable in practice. The process of finding and hiring the right people begins with knowing exactly what you need, which means genuinely understanding how your content gets made before you hand any of it to someone else. This sounds obvious. It is where most first attempts at outsourcing fail. Creators who cannot articulate what makes their editing style work, who cannot describe their thumbnail aesthetic in concrete terms, or who have never mapped out the step-by-step process behind a finished video will struggle to communicate those standards to anyone they hire. The foundation of successful outsourcing is documentation. The ability to write down in enough detail that a capable stranger could follow it exactly what a piece of finished work is supposed to look like and how to get there. In business, this kind of document is called a standard operating procedure. And the creators building the most efficient production systems treat SOP creation as one of their most important ongoing responsibilities. Well-written SOP is not just an instruction manual. It is a quality standard, a training tool, and a scalability mechanism all at once. It is what allows a channel to grow without the creator becoming an ever-tightening bottleneck in their own operation. The practical format for these documents follows a consistent logic regardless of what task is being documented. Starts with context, a clear description of what the finished product is supposed to accomplish and why it matters. An editor who understands that the goal of a particular clip style is maximum retention, and that the pacing needs to feel relentless because the audience will abandon within 2 seconds of any dull moment, will make better decisions than one simply following mechanical instructions without understanding the purpose behind them. After context comes examples, finished pieces of content that represent the target standard, ideally accompanied by notes about what specifically makes them work. Then come the assets, fonts, color schemes, music, sound effects, any brand-specific elements that need to appear in the finished product. Editors cannot read minds, and giving them incomplete assets, then penalizing them for guessing wrong, is one of the most common and most avoidable failures in the entire outsourcing process. Finally come the specific instructions, the detailed, sequential steps that take someone from raw footage to finished product. Tasks that require consistency need precise, rigid instructions. Tasks that benefit from creative judgment need instructions that establish the boundaries, and then genuinely allow the person executing them to bring something of their own. Finding people capable of working to this standard is its own skill, and like most skills, it develops through iteration and occasionally through expensive mistakes. Discord communities built around video editing and YouTube content creation have emerged as particularly effective hunting grounds. Partly because the people active in those spaces are already oriented toward exactly the kind of work being offered, and partly because the community context provides a degree of informal accountability that generic freelance platforms do not always offer. The process that consistently produces the best results involves casting wide, reaching out to multiple candidates simultaneously, providing the SOP, and requesting a sample edit. Whether to pay for sample work is a genuine ethical question, and the honest answer is that paying, even modestly, tends to attract better candidates and signals that the opportunity is serious. Testing 5 to 10 people through a paid sample process is an investment that typically pays for itself immediately through the quality of the final hiring decision. Once samples are evaluated, negotiation becomes possible in a way that is genuinely difficult to replicate otherwise. Having multiple candidates who have demonstrated they can do the job creates real competitive tension, and that tension is the creator's most powerful tool for arriving at a fair price. The goal is not to pay as little as possible. It is to pay a rate that reflects the value being delivered while remaining sustainable within the channel's economics. Creators who build long-term relationships with reliable editors, thumbnail designers, and post managers consistently report that the reliability and institutional knowledge those team members develop over time becomes worth significantly more than whatever marginal savings might have come from constantly cycling through cheaper alternatives. The final piece of the system is ongoing management, which is far less complicated than it sounds once the infrastructure is in place. Shared folder where raw footage gets uploaded is all the handoff mechanism most editors need. A clear content schedule communicated in advance is all most post managers need to keep uploads consistent. The creator records, uploads to the shared folder, and the production pipeline activates automatically and executing the documented process, producing the finished content and scheduling it for publication, all without requiring the creator's involvement until the next recording session. At full implementation, the creator's role in the production process is genuinely limited to the things that cannot be delegated: the ideas, the perspective, the on-camera presence that makes the channel worth watching in the first place. Everything else has been transformed from a personal time commitment into a managed system. The channel grows not through the heroic overextension of a single exhausted individual, but through the compounding output of a team that knows exactly what it is building and exactly how to build it. That shift from creator to architect is not just a productivity hack, it is a fundamentally different way of thinking about what a YouTube channel can be.